Okay, first we're going to start by disconnecting the negative side of the battery. Next we're going to put the key in the ignition so the steering wheel doesn't lock up on us. We have to access 3 screws in order to take the steering column cover off. One on each side of the steering wheel and one underneath the steering wheel itself right here. I'm going to set you guys up the best I can. Might not be able to see everything, but I'll try to tell you what's going on. Right now I'm taking the screws out of the cover like I showed you. All 3 are Phillips head screwdrivers, or Phillips head number 2s. After you get the 3 screws out, you're going to use a small screwdriver and you're going to pry in between the multi-function switches and the cover itself to release it from the top end. I'm just getting this last bottom screw out. So now we're going to go ahead and separate the 2 pieces. Okay. First here I'm going to take the keys out, because the bottom trim actually goes over the keyhole. And now that they're separated, just pull the top up. In order to release the airbag, there's 3 small holes on the steering wheel itself. What you need to do is you go ahead and you stick a pick in there, and it's hard to explain, but if you just wiggle it, it'll release. So you got to release all 3 of them to get the airbag to come out from the steering wheel. After it releases, you gently pull it out. You are going to have wires connected. You're going to go ahead and release the wires connected to the clock spring, and then you're going to take a small screwdriver and release the tabs for the airbag. There's going to be 2 of them, a blue and an orange one. After you release them, then use the screwdriver to pry the actual connectors off the airbag, and then you set it aside. There you can see the 2 connectors. Then we're going to mark the steering shaft in correlation with the steering wheel to make sure we have proper alignment when we reinstall. And then we're going to remove the steering wheel retaining nut using a 21mm. They make a steering wheel remover tool. I don't use it. You just wiggle it back and forth a little bit. It'll free it up. It'll slide right on off. So now we pull the lower cover down. We have to go past the ignition switch itself, and that's going to give us access to the clock spring. Clock spring has 3 tabs to remove it. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the multifunction switch off. Having a little bit of camera trouble here. On the multifunction switch, there's going to be 2 screws holding it on, one on the top and one on the bottom. These are Phillips head screws. Simply remove. Then you're going to want to take both electrical connectors on both sides of the multifunction switch off to remove it. Now once we have it removed, we are only replacing one side of this multifunction switch due to the customer's concern. The right side of the switch itself actually comes apart. There is a plastic tang that retains it on there. We're just going to lift up on that tang and slide the assembly apart. Since the customer's concern deals with the left-hand side, that is what we're replacing. We reattach the right side, making sure that tang locks. And then we're just going to install in reverse order. We're going to put the multifunction switch on, attach both of the electrical connections, and then reinstall the 2 retaining screws. It is important during this procedure that with the clock spring removed, it doesn't move. You want to reinstall it as it came off. If not, what's going to happen is when you go to turn the steering wheel, the ribbon cable inside of the clock spring will end up breaking. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So we put the clock spring on, it's got the 3 plastic tangs to hold it in place, and then the electrical connectors on the bottom we reattach. And then we align our steering wheel with the shaft because we marked it with the permanent marker. And then we go ahead and we reinstall the 21mm nut and tighten it to specifications. And then we're going to reattach our wires to the clock spring as well as to our airbag module. We're going to have one for the horn and then the two for the airbag itself. Make sure that the airbag connectors are fully seated and the locking tabs are fully depressed. And then to reinstall the airbag module, all you simply have to do is push it back into the steering wheel assembly and it'll lock into place. We're going to take our lower shroud, move it back up over the ignition switch, and reattach it with the upper shroud. They simply click together. We're going to put the keys back in ignition so we can turn the steering wheel, and we're going to reinstall the 3 shroud screws. It is important to verify alignment after this to make sure that you did in fact install the steering wheel in the correct location, and it is also important to go ahead and reattach and tighten the negative battery cable that we removed in the beginning. Otherwise you're going to turn the key and nothing's going to happen. I hope this helps someone. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. Take care.